This is Never Down, Never Out with T.R. Matson. This podcast is about discipline when motivation fades, resilience when things get hard, and showing up when quitting would be easier. No hype, no shortcuts, just the mindset required to build something real. One day at a time. Let's get into it. Welcome back. T.R. Matson, Never Down, Never Out. Feeling good. I'm on a streak of good days. I like that. Reminds me of a shirt my wife has. I got her. It's a workout shirt, but it's got this like cartoon dog that's all beat up with a cast on and bandages, and it's holding a pair of crutches, and it says, "I only have good days." I love it when she wears that shirt. It's a good message. Episode 38. What the heck? How did we get here? Right? Whew. Time flies. We got to start putting some work in. Nah, we're doing the work. It's good. It's a good day. I hope you're all feeling good. I hope you're also on a good streak. Today's topic is one I thought about for a moment, and I'm like, I'm not sure I could talk about this without using aviation analogies. So for the non-aviators or people that don't really care about aviation, I apologize. But to me, this one, it's so, I've lived a life in aviation that fits this topic, and continue to live a life that fits this topic. And I'll give a couple examples. So, but the topic of how to create structure in chaos. Well, anybody that knows my backstory, 20 years in the Navy, naval aviation is by design chaos. It's controlled chaos. Go to another YouTube channel and watch just carrier operations day or night. There's a ton of videos out there of people up on Vulture's Row just videotaping the flight deck during a launch and recovery. It's complete chaos. It looks like it. To somebody who doesn't understand what they're looking at, it looks like it's just pure chaos. But it's actually not. It's actually, if I were to go pull up a video right now and look at it, it would actually bring calm to me. Because there's a way to do everything, right? Everybody has a different colored jersey, so you know their job, whether they're a aircraft handler or a fueler or maintenance or safety or fire. Like everybody, it's very obvious. There's no hiding, right? I've joked on Instagram, they refer to LSOs, landing signals officers, as angels in white because we wear a white float coat, right? I think we're the only ones that calls that, or maybe the pilots that had a particularly rough landing. I don't know. But all of that takes the chaotic nature of moving airplanes around an aircraft carrier in what is one of the most interesting landscapes I've ever seen, because if you walk on an aircraft carrier when it's empty, it looks huge, right? I mean, it really does. It's a massive ship. But when you're deployed, it becomes the smallest space in the world trying to taxi your aircraft around. So pure chaos, but the system works, right? Everybody knows how to do their job. Everybody knows what to expect. Everybody knows where to look. I mean, little things like that. As a pilot, I would trap and I would look to my right because that's where the guy or girl was that I'm supposed to see. And they're going to tell me to release my brakes, and I'm going to get tugged backwards and put the arresting hook up and fold my wings and turn out of the landing area. And then they're going to move me to another. And it sounds chaotic as I say it, but it's kind of peaceful. So how do we create an environment like that? Well, you have to have a working knowledge of what you're trying to do, and you have to have a plan. Okay. And then you have to rehearse that plan over and over and over again. Repetition is what builds the routine that calms the chaos. So let's think about that again. Repetition builds the routine that calms the chaos. So when I'm landing on an aircraft carrier, that's about as chaotic as it gets. I mean, they call it a controlled crash. I would argue sometimes it's not even that controlled. But you slam down on this flight deck. It's very violent. You pray that you catch a wire, and you stop. And that routine of looking to the right, the pullback, hook up, everything else that I talked about, that is what calms you down, because your adrenaline spike is through the roof. And I can prove it. Everybody has their tick, and anybody who's ever landed on an aircraft carrier knows theirs. Mine is my left leg, without fail. I would land, and my left leg would start shaking. It was the adrenaline dump, just massive, of what I just accomplished. And it was very difficult at times to taxi the airplane with my feet, because my left knee is just sitting there vibrating. But by having that routine, it takes all of this stuff around you, and it silences the noise, and it makes you focus on the exact thing that you're supposed to be focused on. Let me give another aviation analogy. Recently, I was flying after a frontal passage and landing, and it was very, very strong winds. In the Airbus, we have 38 knots, including gusts, as our crosswind limit, and we were right on the edge. And I would never shoot an approach or try to land above it. But it was slightly above mins when we checked in with approach. But they said it was varying, so I said, okay, it's clear night. Let's check in with tower. They have the most accurate winds, real time. And we did, and it was within limits. So I'm like, okay, now we're getting the snot beat out of us. I mean, I feel bad for everybody who's in the back of that plane. I can only imagine what the last row felt like with these gusts. And inevitably, we caught a gust that, in my opinion, there's no way of me to know this for sure, but it probably was out of our wind limits, and I executed a go-around. Now, I've said on podcasts before that go-arounds are for quitters. It's a joke. They are not. There is definitely a time in aviation where it's better to go around and try it again than it is to try to salvage a bad landing. And this was one of those times. So I executed a go-around, and, a go-around in civilian aviation, in airliner aviation, could be one of the most routine or chaotic things, depending on how it's executed. When we go into training, and I did that, right, on the other side, I was the instructor for a long time, it would almost be routine. You'd almost know when it's coming and be like, oh, didn't break out, go around, okay, go around flaps, SRS verify, pause the rig, you're up, right? Those are the things that go through our head in the Airbus. And that's great in a controlled environment. But when you are using all your skill set as a pilot to try to put this plane safely on a runway, and you realize it ain't happening, and you execute a go-around, it's very chaotic. And you have to fall back on that routine. And that's what I did that night. And I'm not saying I'm anything fantastic. I've said it before. I am as average to slightly below average of a pilot as you can get. And I always have been, and I always will be. It's just how I am. I don't have a natural God-given gift for flying. But I executed the go-around, and my focus became hyper-focused on flying the airplane first, right? We would say aviate, navigate, communicate. My first officer's talking on the radio, telling tower that we're going around. We're trying to get the plane configured out of the landing configuration. But my job at that moment is to fly the flight directors, fly the airplane first. Because if I don't do that, the rest doesn't matter, right? So it's absolute chaos. We're still getting beat up pretty bad. The winds didn't all of a sudden die down, right? So we're still getting pretty beat up, and it's absolute chaos. And I just get on my flight directors, and I go back to aviating. I fall back on that. And when ATC comes in and they want to turn us, or they want to ask us questions, or they want to do that, it's just take a deep breath, calm down, focus on what you can focus on in that moment, and then move past that and move on to the next thing. And it's those are the building blocks that get us out of the chaos back into a controlled environment. So, and we did, they gave us a turn. We said stand by, and then once everything was under control and everything was good, okay, we'll take the turn. And then even later, we're on downwind and, hey, do you want to turn in for another approach? And, we said, hey, hold on a second. We're not ready yet. We have plenty of gas. I'm not concerned about it. Let's make sure we're doing our checklist. Let's make sure we're getting back into our habit patterns. And then once we get back into those habit patterns, then we can go back to flying. But right now, we need a beat, right? I need a minute. So think about that for what you're working on, right? There's going to be times in your life where, and we're not even necessarily talking about the goal you're trying to achieve. I'm talking about day-to-day life where it's just going to get chaotic, right? I mean, whether it's you're driving to work and almost getting in an accident, or you're running late, or the family this, or health issues, or you're just, whatever it is, right? A financial decision didn't pan out, and now we've got to recoup from that. It's like, okay, take a deep breath. Let's focus on the things we can focus on in the short term. Let's get back to that routine. Let's get back to the repetitive things that we can do, and then let's move forward, right? And if we can do that, if those are the things that we can do, then we'll get out of the chaos, right? It'll be like coming out of the clouds. It'll be beautiful. Life will be good. And we could focus on a bigger picture. But sometimes when we're in that chaos, we do have to narrow our focus to be hyper-focused on getting ourselves out of it. If you've ever been in a situation where you're driving a car on snow or ice and you start sliding and slipping, a lot of things that used to matter don't in the moment, right? A lot of things that used to be on your mind aren't. You're now just focused on trying to get the car to stop slipping. So I knew Penny would make an appearance. So sorry about that, guys. That's podcasting in my world right now with a puppy. So again, you're driving that car, you start sliding on ice, it gets crazy, right? I'm not worried about the groceries anymore. I'm not worried about the bills. I'm worried about not smacking this car into something. So getting back into the routines, getting back into our focus area of what we know, right? If for the aviation analogies, the aviate, navigate, communicate, getting back into that allows me to then focus on moving forward. And that's the message for today. Short and sweet, with a little interruption. I apologize for that, but yeah, that's how we do it, right? Checklists. You can make checklists for yourself and get through the day and focus on it. I'm going to go let this little girl out because she's been sleeping. I appreciate you tuning in. We'll talk again soon. Thanks. If this episode helped you, don't just listen, apply it. Progress is built in what you do after the message ends. Remember, never down, never out. I'll see you tomorrow.